And Chad, as a parent, I'm sure that you can speak to that as well, because it's more of a magnified experience for the kids to participate in. It's not just the way it used to be, it's much more right now.
Oh, I think so. And I think from being from a college town, they get to see some of the things going to the University of Missouri games, and now they're kind of like them. And I think they get excited about that. For me, it's even better because as a parent of a middle schooler, as a junior high student now, we were feeling the pain of athletic cuts, and now we get to see those kids get to have those sports back in those schools, which helps athletics across the board for our whole community, whether it's school sports or club sports or all those things. I think it's a big deal, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Chad, let's go back to you. As a parent of an incoming student to a new school, it's an exciting time, and just tell me a little bit about what you envision, even 3-4 years down the road.
I think the exciting thing for me as a parent, and we've started to have these some of these meetings about the sports teams and the fine arts things, is that the coaches are getting to talk about, let's do volunteer work, because we're not spending all of our time fundraising. So we have, like, the volleyball program is going to be working at the food bank and going to be doing some river cleanup and things like that we couldn't do before because the girls were selling candy bars and pizzas and
Sure.
all this other things. So I think the community will see other things give back over time that we couldn't do before because we were so busy trying to get new uniforms at Oakland and all of those other places. So for me, there'll be a bigger reach than on the field and in the auditoriums, because I think the community will see it from lots of things, and I think all the coaches are embracing that part of that piece of that is to give back to the community that's helping them.
Paula, in the beginning, were you like, what are they doing to us? What is my role now as a booster club?
I really, as a representative of the Rockbridge Booster Club and as a parent, I just felt like it was a very good concept. It was a good concept in which CPS could tap into some revenues that they didn't have access to otherwise to use in the classroom. And as a booster club, we primarily work to fundraise for our sport programs. And I just really felt that this program would support us in that effort. And in learning about it from the beginning, I felt like with the amount of dollars that the program was expecting to bring in from the advertisers in Columbia, that we were talking about a significant amount of money.
Did you have pushback from some of the booster club members?
Yes, I would say so, just because I think most of it has to do with the lack of understanding of the program. Now, I do believe that there's a transition period, and not all of it was easy, but there's only a few people to really understand the process. And I'm not saying I'm one of those people, but I think that is maybe one of the issues, is that folks don't understand. And I think when there is money that eventually makes it into the individual sport ECAs, extracurricular accounts, that more folks will appreciate the program.
We talked about, some of the parents, and let's talk to a parent, Nawassa. When you originally heard about this, what was your thought?
Thought about the limitations that it was going to have on our fundraising efforts. As a parent, being involved in, at the time when the program came out, wrestling, a really small sport, were we going to get the revenue that we're getting? Based on our budgets and what we had, our booster club was what took care of the funding for the overnight stays, extra gear that the boys needed, because the budget that we had took care of travel, and it took care of a little bit of equipment and officials. So my concern was, if we can't do this fundraising and you're going to get the money to us, when are you going to get it to us? Mm-hmm. Because those things have to be paid for in order to go out and get that competition that we were used to. We needed to travel to, at that time we were going to Lee Summit, we were going to Springfield, and we were going to St. Louis. Those are overnight stays for wrestlers. Where's the money going to come from? And so initially I felt limited in what we were going to be able to do, because the money wasn't going into the account at the time when we needed it.
And let's be honest, that's the way a lot of people felt around how is this going to affect my sport? How is it going to affect my kid, right?
Definitely, yeah.
As a wrestling parent, when you saw the scoreboards go up for football, when you saw the scoreboards go up in the gymnasium, did that raise red flag for you?
Red, burgundy, all those different colors. Because again, I'm still wondering, where is that going to come from, and how are you going to help that little sport? Because football, yeah, everybody supports it out there, and it's there. And basketball, I've got a basketball kid too. But again, that sport that my son found his mojo in, where is that going to come from? And granted, he's in the gym for that, but again, the concern was, how are you going to take care of programs such as that one? And also with track, we don't use the scoreboard outside for track.
Have you been happy with what you've seen?
I have been happy with what I've seen. I do have the concern of the money, where, have those sports seen any of the revenues that are, being promised to them. They all told me it's coming. And so we're holding on. One coach told me that they're waiting for the date. I don't think they said 5/29. So they're kind of waiting to find out what it is that they're getting.
As a parent, I'm sure that you have to be thinking, you look at a Friday night, you look at a Saturday soccer game, the experience at Columbia Public Schools, whether it's a sporting event, whether it's something else, has just risen, hasn't it? It used to be, back 20 years ago, you went and there were parents in the stands and that's it. But most of the time now, the community is involved and you can feel it, can't you?
I think the energy of the fans, the kids, and everybody that participates in the activities has gone up. The level that you see at the games, the level of the professionalism is what I'm trying to say. You're just proud to see that product out there.
And some people have even said, when you have the University of Missouri, when you have Columbia College, and kids get to see that, what goes on there, and then they come to Columbia Public Schools, they get that kind of same experience. Out-of-town teams come here and say, whoa, look at this.
Yeah, I'm sure other teams are very impressed by what they're seeing.
Paula, as you look to the future, what do you foresee for this, not only in Rockbridge, but for all of Columbia Public Schools?
Well, in representing the Booster Club again, I'm interested in knowing what possibly the next big projects are. I feel that, or I understand that maybe this next fall, more funds will land in the individual sport accounts. However, I think that will require some additional work by our athletic directors and others, because I think that maybe some of the coaches might be surprised with the amount of money that they receive, and I believe that we need to be sure that there's transparency with that, along with a line item budget for how each coach should use their money. I've actually forgotten your question now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But in the future, 5 to 10 years from now, what do you see as a member of the Booster Club?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I believe that this program will certainly support our efforts as a Booster Club in fundraising. Our fundraising and what we do at Booster Club or at Rockbridge is a little bit different from Hickman. And I'm not sure what's going to be happening here at Battle, but there's always the parity issues between the three schools, and that's always changing. There's parity between schools, there's parity between teams. So that all has to be considered, and there really needs to be some input from a group of folks who figure out how we need a plan around it. And in particular, I'll just bring it up right now, I think that in the future, I believe that the schools could potentially engage in a uniform rotation or somehow supporting financially uniforms for the teams. And I believe that in the future, depending on the money, that we could get back into that rotation. But of course, it's not going to be just one school or the other figuring that out. It has to be determined by a group of people.